Welcome to my version of the video game kill count where the rule set is looser and the media covered probably less likely to be covered than the Deadbeat channel. I'm your host Natalie Rode, and today I'm doing something a bit different and covering a video game musical rather than just any regular video game. I'm starting off with Five Nights at Freddy's the Musical, a 5-part musical series released by Random Encounters in 2015 and compiled into Supercut in 2016. Five Nights at Freddy's, or simply FNaF, is a survival horror franchise created by Scott Cawthon after his previous game Chipper & Sons Slumber Co. was criticized for its characters' unsettling designs. The core premise of FNaF revolves around surviving from midnight until morning at different locations, all filled with haunted animatronics to stalk the player, with only limited actions available to defend yourself. The franchise is also infamous for having incredibly convoluted lore, something I would never be able to explain concisely in a kill count, let alone at all, which is why I'm covering Random Encounters Musical instead. Not only is the footage far more engaging and the lore more understandable, but the kills are shown explicitly, unlike most of the kills in the actual franchise. Without further ado, let's punch into our shift and get to the kills. The musical begins with the new night guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, Mark, entering the office and starting his shift. Mark is, of course, played by YouTuber Markiplier, who also appeared in other RE musicals such as Resident Enos, My Date with Captain Falcon, and How to Beat a Monkey at Chess. Phone Guy informs him about the moving animatronics, but he dismisses the claim and checks the camera, only to see that the Phone Guy's claims were indeed correct. The camera system goes out momentarily, and once it comes back, Mark is scared by Bonnie shoving his face into the camera, likely a reference to a similar happening in the original game. As the animatronics go to investigate the scream, Mark worries that they'll stuff him into a Freddy suit, and turns around in his chair in such a manner that I'm surprised he didn't come with a projectile warning.
Oh, you got me!
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did that hurt when it hit you?
No, it was okay.
It was like right through your face.
Mark closes the door, and when the animatronics leave him a note that scares him, they assume that he's trapped in the office and get Foxy to go through the vent to rescue him. While Chica is checking the kitchen to see if the camera there is dead, Mark hastily makes a mangle mask to use as a disguise, still convinced that the animatronics are out to kill him, and albeit probably not in the way Mark expected, it seems to have worked.
Oh.
Baby, I love you.
Foxy's admiration is interrupted when Chica knocks over some pots and pans and confirms that the camera is indeed dead, and while he's distracted, Mark shoves him back into the vent and seals it. He then finds out he forgot to wind the music box, and the puppet pays him a visit which sends him cowering underneath his desk in fear until the power eventually runs out. Freddy tries to cheer him up with a song, but it appears to be rather ineffective.
Cause I love you through and through.
Your singing sucks!
Wow, tough crowd.
Not even the whole group singing together is enough to console him, but it doesn't matter cause Purple Guy is here to save the day as it's finally 6 AM. After finding out that he's scheduled for 4 more nights, he packs a bag with weapons the next day and goes to the pizzeria to kill the animatronics, I guess? As Mark inspects his weapons, the animatronics cower in fear and hide away, which honestly just makes me feel bad for them because they just want to be friends. Mark invites Foxy to bite the bullet, and when he sees something moving, he assumes that it's him and starts shooting, and, well...
You're not Foxy.
Yeah, he just shot an innocent guy who was just sweeping the floor, and also doesn't ask questions, apparently. Mark is arrested, but since the cops forget to lock him in, he manages to escape and runs home to dye his hair so the cops won't recognize him. Totally not a scene that was added to patch up the glaring continuity issue of Mark's hair color changing in his next appearance. The perspective switches to Nate entering his apartment while checking his mail and seeing a late payment notice of $925. He gets a call from Phone Guy offering the night guard position that had been opened after the firearms accident, and being in the dire situation that he is, he takes the job. But, I mean, come on, we all know that wouldn't be enough to cover it. We learn that Nate has worked here before and that he was a witness of what was probably the bite of 87. Meanwhile, Bonnie has run off to investigate a package sent by, oh my god, Scott Cawthon. Chica and Freddy tell him not to open the box because it could be unsafe, but when Bonnie goes to wrap it back up, whatever was inside is now outside. A swift figure disables the camera as Freddy and Chica once again have to search for Bonnie, who mysteriously disappeared. Chica goes to check the kitchen at Freddy's request, but is suddenly snatched by Springtrap, who is the figure we saw swoop past the cameras. Freddy tries to ask Foxy for help, but is also met with Springtrap, although he manages to escape. Bonnie is finally found tied up when Nate sees him on the cameras when the music box suddenly runs out. Nate tries to lock the door, but it fails, much to the confusion of Nate, who is unaware of Springtrap hiding among the balloons. Springtrap attacks, popping the balloons and scaring Nate, who lets out a scream.
Usually that only happens when...
Also, in case you're wondering, Nate's scream is completely genuine, and in the bloopers, we actually see that the balloons popping caught Nate off guard, no pun intended, in real life too.
Usually that only happens when...
Freddy tries to save him, but is immediately sent flying by Springtrap, removing the cover of the desk fan and exposing the blades. Right as Nate's about to get reverse Frankied, the puppet appears, which distracts Springtrap, and as they scuffle, the puppet is sent into the fan, giving us our first kill of the musical. Foxy then pops out of the vent along with Bonnie, knocking Springtrap to the floor and finally putting an end to the commotion. The animatronics mourn over the puppet, who was the only one able to defend them, and that with him gone, there's no one else to stop Springtrap.
Well, I know a guy.
Oh, okay then. Can you tell me about him?
Where does he live?
Never mind then, I guess we're just gonna skip all the other important details. While Nate and the animatronics drive to the home of the guy Bonnie knows, Purple Guy's running late for his shift, and as he goes to apologize, he's met with an empty office. Nate calls him and says that he too will be late for his shift, but his, or rather the animatronics, cover is nearly blown when Purple Guy addresses their absence from the pizzeria, but they play it off super well.
You guys are gonna blow our cover!
Sorry, did you say something?
No, nothing at all.
Why?
Are you hearing voices?
Maybe the restaurant is haunted.
And the souls of the undead children keep talking to you.
Oh, would you shut up?
Nate shoves all that to the side and asks Purple Guy to not mention Springtrap, who is currently tied up in the office, which he handles pretty nonchalantly by just saying it smells and that its wiring burnt out almost a decade ago. Nate and the animatronics arrive at their destination, which turns out to be Mark's house, and while Nate handles Springtrap, the others go inside to talk to him. As they fail to do so quietly, Mark wakes up and goes to investigate, and when Foxy appears, Mark hits him with a flashlight and hides behind the wall. Meanwhile, Nate has successfully found Springtrap and begins luring him with BB, who he somehow got access to and control of through an administrator console. Balloon Boy was made out of a tipster robot and was an absolute nightmare to deal with during the shoot since it could only turn one way and would constantly fall over.
No. Forward. AJ.
That thing's a piece of shit.
I guess it makes sense though, because to most people he's a pain in the ass in FNaF 2 as well. As Nate starts to lose ground, Foxy makes it into Mark's room, and when he goes to check, so do the other three animatronics, terrifying Mark even further, and when Bonnie tries to explain the situation through a drawing, Mark takes Freddy and holds him at knife point. Wait, why does he have a knife in his bedroom? I mean, I know he took a whole bunch of weapons to the pizzeria, but you'd imagine he'd pack them all away after fleeing, right? On Nate's end, Springtrap has begun attacking BB, knocking off his antenna, forcing him to a full stop and removing all control from Nate, who is left unable to do anything else and watch Springtrap finish off BB by tearing out his eye cameras. With no other options, he enters Mark's room and quotes Phone Guy from the original game by saying he should show them a little respect, which immediately makes Mark assume that he's working with the animatronics. They finally get the chance to tell Mark what they want without him freaking out, but he still doesn't trust them and therefore refuses, but Nate manages to convince him with the pretty solid reason of proving that he didn't lie to the police. The crew lays low while waiting until midnight, and during a conversation between Mark and Nate, it is revealed that the guy Mark shot somehow survived.
Don't make fun of me. I killed the guy. He was just sweeping the floor.
I actually heard that guy's in stable condition.
When they enter the pizzeria office, Mark immediately takes note of Balloon Boy's head hanging from the ceiling after the Springtrap attack. Balloon Boy's damaged look was made by taking the head off of another customized tipster robot, then mercilessly smashing and scraping it on concrete until it looks sufficiently beaten up.
Oh, it hurts me as much as it hurts him, I think.
There's some glass, I think.
I think he's beaten up enough, or you think he needs more?
I think he's suffered enough. That looks pretty bad.
How about that? This was Balloon Boy, everybody.
They begin their plan to stop Springtrap, which involves dousing him with a fire extinguisher to get his springlocks wet, and we follow the animatronics as they all look for one in each of the main areas, only to find a worrying lack of one. Chica, however, is looking in the kitchen, which as you all know doesn't have a video feed available, and she eventually finds it, but in turn is then found by Springtrap, and in a close chase, she runs to the office so that they can douse him. When the time finally comes though, the fire extinguisher only manages a measly puff that covers everyone in dry chemical powder.
Woo! That's a good shit. What are we doing?
Nate is then hit in the back of the head and knocked out with a fire extinguisher by Purple Guy, who reveals that he was the one behind Springtrap, calling it his murder gremlin. Mark realizes that he's doing this to get more hours than to get the other two to quit, but then Purple Guy finds out that as long as the animatronics have company, he can have the job. Right as everything seems to have reached a happy ending, Phone Guy gives them a call informing them that this wasn't how it was meant to go down and that they were instead meant to turn on each other, so now he's stopping by to come finish the job. As Phone Guy breaks through the wall, the door shuts and completely locks, leaving no escape for the team. Phone Guy finally breaks through and it's revealed that it's, Freddy?
I go by many names. Phone Guy, Mad Pat, Scott Cawthon.
Or, I guess, Mad Pat and Scott Cawthon as well.
Is one of them evil dirtbag with a chainsaw?
Why, yes! Actually, that one's my favorite.
Purple Guy is then killed when Phone Guy drives his chainsaw flamethrower into him and then rips it out again. He taunts Mark by saying that none of this would have happened if he just listened to what he said on the first night.
Don't be afraid.
They just want to say hi!
Not all of them.
Mark releases Springtrap, who immediately starts attacking Phone Guy, and while they're distracted, Mark rips off the door switch, opening the door again, allowing them to escape. Meanwhile, Springtrap's head is sawed off by Phone Guy, and the whole place is set ablaze, burning down the pizzeria. Before cutting to black, we see a view of Springtrap's motionless head, which is enough for me to add him to the count. The next day, Nate sees the incident reported in the newspaper while on the phone with Mark, when he suddenly gets another phone call because, surprise Nate, Phone Guy didn't die in that fire. Phone Guy threatens him by saying that he isn't safe anywhere, but Nate nonchalantly puts him on hold and throws the phone into a nearby fountain and walks off. The animatronics are now working at a company called Fast Games Limited, and somehow Mark got Phone Guy's murder tool and is now using it to grill sausages as the musical cuts to the credits. A post-credits scene shows Freddy and his band playtesting a game and trying to find a name for it, with an unacceptable snark at FNaF World. There's nothing you can do or say to change my mind, that game is peak. Freddy eventually suggests the name Five Nights at Freddy's, much to the chagrin of Bonnie, and the musical cuts to the Random Encounters logo. How many people and robots... Oh, sorry, now the musical is done. How many people and robots met their musical mortis? Let's find out and get to the numbers. I counted a total of 4 kills in FNaF the Musical. The victims consisted only of men, making this the very first time we've had a single colored pie. With a runtime of 32 minutes and 20 seconds, that leaves us with a kill on average approximately every 8 minutes. My favorite kill will go to Purple Guy, because not only is the chainsaw kill kinda cool, but it's also the most explicit kill. My least favorite kill goes to nobody, actually. Each of the remaining 3 characters had their own unique death, and I just can't in good faith choose between any of them. And yeah, that's it. FNaF the Musical was released in 2015 and is one of RE's most popular musicals, which is well deserved. I'm hoping to cover more of their musicals in the future, but until then, I've been your host Natalie Road, and good night.